Hey, welcome back to Real Fast Food. Today we're going to do something that your mother probably told you never, ever, ever to do. Today we're going to play with our food. That's right, we're going to play with our food. I want to make some bread, but I don't want to make any kind of bread. I don't want to make a sandwich bread. I wanted to make a brioche, but I didn't really want to make a brioche, so I'm going to try to make like a hybrid of the two, like a regular sandwich loaf and a brioche and combine them together. Why am I doing this? Because I want to make a super hearty, hefty, blueberry cream cheese stuffed French toast. And I need the bread to be able to hold up to what I want to do to it. So I want to be able to slice it really thick so that I can stuff it. Yeah. So, before I forget, we have an incredible guest in the house today. That's right, an incredible guest. Please help me welcome the incredible edible egg. That's right, y'all remember that commercial? I remember too. Today it's all going to be about what I do differently with my egg or eggs. And I'm also going to substitute milk instead of water. But you'll just have to see what happens. I don't know if it's going to work. It might, it may not. If it does, we're on to something because we're going to videotape it. Also, a quick shout out to my new friends that I met in the barbecue place yesterday, Mark and Renee. Shout out to you guys. It was good talking to you. We talked about everything from barbecue sauce to grills to smoking meats to agriculture to zucchini to breads to the right cut of meat to being a vet. Shout out to both of them. They're also military vets. They're not Navy, but I still show them a little bit of love, but you understand. But Mark and Renee, today's show is for you guys. Let's go. As I said before, today we're going to be making our bread. I don't know what kind of bread this is. It's a mixture between regular bread and brioche bread, but all right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it. All right, so I have here 1 cup of milk. Just one regular cup of milk. It's actually 2%, but it's a cup. And I warmed it up so it was a nice baby bath water type warm. And then I also have my my instant yeast. This is instant yeast. There's a difference between instant yeast and active yeast. The active yeast, you have to submerge it in a warm liquid first to get it to activate. I don't have to do that with the instant yeast, but because I want to mix it pretty good, I'm going to do it anyway. So instant yeast or active yeast, follow these same instructions. All right. I normally make my bread with a cup of water. Today I'm going to use a cup of milk to see if that changes the texture and the consistency of the bread and so forth. So I'm going to put 1 packet. I believe that's equivalent to a tablespoon. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure. And then I'm just going to mix it in that warm water. Again, not something that I have to do because it's instant yeast. It's already activated. And just going to stir that up a little bit and let that do its thing. Come on, get off my spoon. Get off my spoon. Get off of my spoon. Well, it's definitely alive because it's clinging to my spoon. Y'all forgive my fingers. I cleaned them. Today's Wednesday. I always wash my hands on Wednesday. All right, so we're going to let that hang out for a second. Now, we're going to take 4 cups. I'm using all-purpose flour, and we're going to put it in our bowl. I already measured out 4 cups. You'll need 4 cups. At least that's what we're going to start with. I don't know if we're going to need more or not. We're also going to take 3 tablespoons of sugar. I want this bread kind of sweet because I want to stuff French toast with it, and I want that sweetness to it. So I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of sugar in there. And again, because it's French toast, I want it to be reminiscent of what French toast tastes like even on its own. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of cinnamon. You guys like cinnamon, right? Everybody likes cinnamon. Most people like cinnamon. Most normal people. And then I'm just going to take a pinch of salt, and I'm going to throw that in there too. Boom. I'm using Himalayan pink salt right now. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of whisk my dry ingredients together just so they get incorporated a little bit there. Not all that important at this point, but it's a good idea. That way you don't have clumps of sugar or clumps of this, that, or the other. So that's what we're going to do there. All right. So now I've got 3 room temperature eggs. 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. The first one, we're going to take it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this a little differently too. I'm going to take, hold on, let me get the rest of that flour out of there. You don't want up out of here. I'm going to switch this out for a second. And I'm going to crack my eggs. All right. 1, 2, 3. No shells. That's pretty impressive, right? On live TV too. I did make a mess on the table though, on my little cutting board here. All right. So now that that's in there, I'm gonna go ahead and just break those yolks up just a little bit. Not trying to scramble them, just want to break it up so it's easier to mix. I'm going to take about a tablespoon. Actually, we're going to do 2 tablespoons of olive oil. 1 and 2. All right. So we're not going to need that anymore. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yeast and warm milk mixture. Again, that's a tablespoon of instant yeast and a cup of warm 2% milk. I'm just going to throw this in here. All right. We're going to do that like that there, that there. That's how we're going to do it like. All right. And I'm just going to mix this together. And I'm doing more stirring. I'm not really whisking it. I just want to get it all mixed in there. Then I'm going to bring my other bowl back. And I'm going to make a little well. I can't believe I just made a mess doing that, y'all. My mom would say, so fast. Slow down. All right. Had a little piece of lint floating. Had to get that out. Hope y'all didn't see that on TV. Don't be trying to look for it either. Rewinding the tape, see if you can see it. All right, so we've got all of our ingredients in here. We've got cinnamon. We've got that's a 1 tablespoon of that. We've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We've got about a teaspoon of pink Himalayan sea salt. And you can use any kind of salt. That's just the kind that I have at the moment. We have 3 tablespoons of sugar. We have 4 cups of flour and a mess, because that's what I do. And did I forget anything else in there? 3 eggs. Did I tell you about 3 eggs? I told you about 3 eggs, right? Now, I'm going to go in with my hands on this. And again, as I mentioned in a couple of my other videos, clean hands are important because as a cook, as a chef, a baker, what have you, you use your hands. These are your most important tools. Let me take my rings off. As Guy would say, I'm going to de-bling. I'm going to take that off. And I'm just going to get in here and mix this up real nice and nice. Real nice and nice like. And I can already tell that I may or may not need to add a little more flour because it is quite sticky. And a lot of people, they're sticklers on their bread. Oh, you got to use this, you got to use that, and so forth and so on. And I make bread all the time. Now, granted, it does not come out the same exact way all the time, but it's been great every time. And depending on the humidity levels and moisture in your house or so forth, sometimes your dough requires another tablespoon or so of flour just to get it to where you want. Sometimes it might take a whole half a cup to a cup more. Hopefully not a cup, because that means something was really, really off. Now, because we are doing this for the first time, we don't know how this is going to come out, right? So we are going to adjust on the fly. On the fly, we are going to adjust. So I am going to add in another half a cup of all-purpose flour, just because my dough is a lot more wet than I want it to be. All right, this may have been a mistake. It might work, but we're gonna see. Come on, man, it's only dough. All right, it's only dough. But I can tell that it's getting more like I like it already. Already. And if you've never made your own bread and you want a nice, wonderful, nostalgic feeling, that's my word for the day, y'all, nostalgia. If you want a nice, nostalgic feeling in your house, remind you of the holidays or so forth, man, you get a nice loaf of bread or two in the oven, bacon, and I'm telling you, you got something special. There's something special there you got. All right, yeah, see, that feels much better. That feels much, much better. Now, all I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to let this rest for about 1 hour, and the size should double approximately, right? So you see that's just barely sitting in my hand now. Should be just about twice that, all right? Do not knead it yet. We're not kneading it. Just let it alone, let it do its thing. I'm going to mix it just a little bit more. And yes, it's still pretty sticky, but I'll worry about that later. I'll adjust that later. All right, now I'm going to cover this with a clean towel and let this hang out for an hour. And I said it's a clean towel. It was clean before I put my hands on it. All right, we're going to let that hang out for an hour, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, I'm back. I just realized I forgot to do something. The yeast did in fact double in size, but I forgot to add the butter. We need butter. So this may make or break the recipe, but I feel like I need to fix it. I need to somehow get a half a cup of butter inside this dough. So I'm going to switch over to the KitchenAid mixer, add a half a cup of room temperature butter, let it knead on the dough hook for a while, and see if we can't recover this mistake. Live cooking, guys. Let's see what happens. We playing with our food. Okay, so here we are at the stand mixer. I have your typical stand mixer. This is the artisan model of the KitchenAid. I do not think you'd be able to pull this off with a hand mixer. I think this dough is way too heavy for that to work. I'm trying to get some more of this dough. Wow, that's still pretty sticky. So I did let this rest for an hour, by the way, and that may or may not be what destroys us. Come on, get off my finger. I can see, you see how it's pulling, so I can see that the gluten is already at work. It's already pretty, it's a pretty wet dough, sticky, wet dough. But, all right. So, I'm going to put my dough hook on. I'm going to lock her down. And I'm going to put this on about 2. And let that go. And I'm going to mix in a half a cup of room temperature butter. Actually, let me stop it first. I'm going to put this butter in first. I'm putting it in half at a time. It's a 1/4 cup here, and I'm going to put another cup in, another 1/4 cup, I'm sorry, in just a minute. So why am I adding the butter? I think without the butter, I wouldn't get the flavor and the texture, the consistency that I wanted in the bread. Remember, I'm not trying to make a brioche per se. I'm trying to make something that is a cross between a regular loaf of bread and a brioche. So we've got 3 eggs. What I do, 4½ cups of sugar, a teaspoon of instant yeast, cup of warm milk, a dash of salt, tablespoon of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Did I mention 3 eggs? I always forget to think whether or not I mentioned, but 3 eggs at room temperature. We let it rest for about an hour, and it did increase in size, not quite double, but now we just added half a cup of butter to it. Threw it in the stand mixer because we forgot to add the butter before. And we're going to let this dough hook go for probably a good 5 to 7 minutes. And see if we can't get this dough nice and smooth. We're going to let it rest or proof again. And then we'll go from there. Alright? Let me turn this up a little bit. Alright, we'll be back in a minute. Hey, just a quick update. I scraped down the sides and I actually added that other half a cup of flour because it was still a bit too wet for what I wanted. So now remember, we're now up to 5 cups of flour total. And you see now it's finally starting to pull away from the sides. I'm gonna let this dough hook go for another 3 or 4 minutes. And I think we're gonna be in good shape. Listen, if this works, or if it doesn't work, you'll never see this video anyway. But if it does, we're going to have some good stuffed French toast. You feel me? Yeah. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to check it again. Looks a lot smoother now. Not quite. So the rule of thumb is you should be able to get some and pull it apart and see a little bit of light come through it before it starts to break. And I don't think we're anywhere near that, so let's go some more. It is starting to pull away from the side, but not like I want. So I'm going to stop it. It looks a lot smoother. It's not sticking to the sides as much. It's still a relatively wet dough, but I think the brioche component of the dough is supposed to be somewhat wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the bowl. I'm going to put it in my little loaf pan here, which I've coated with some olive oil so that it doesn't stick to the sides. I'm going to set it in. Actually, you know what? No, I forgot. I got to do something else. So let me get it off this hook here. It's definitely a lot more stretchy, which is a good thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this up, and it's pretty sticky. It's pretty sticky, but I think we want it somewhat sticky. Let's move this back here. All right, we're going to put this down here on the countertop, and like I said before, guys, this may work, it may not work. But we're going to see today, right? It is pretty sticky. Wow. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit there. Wow, it's pretty stretchy. I'm going to take a little bit there. Take a little bit there. Come on. Y'all trying to get back together. Y'all remember that movie, The Glob? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get this this part. So brioche bread sometimes has those extra lumps and so forth in there, and I want that kind of look in here. Not exactly, like I said, remember this is like a hybrid of the two, of the sandwich bread and the brioche. This is not brioche bread. And in fact, I don't know if it's going to be any kind of bread at all, because we certainly made an experiment today. Renee, I hope this comes out. Alright, so it is pretty sticky, but I think it's supposed to be. This is not typical bread dough. Normally I don't like my bread dough to be that sticky. And I'm going to take this part and I'm going to wedge that in between here. Now I broke them up because I want some layer, some texture and so forth. We're going to let this proof for at least another hour or so, and then hey, we'll see if it worked. If not, remember, you will never see this video. It will go away. It will just go away. But what if it works? Stay tuned. Okay, I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. It rose a little bit. I'm not expecting a whole lot with this because we let it rise for an hour before, so I don't expect it to rise but so much. So I'm going to throw it in. I'm not going to do an egg wash on here, although I am tempted to do so. You know what? Yes, I am. Egg. If I do it one hand, I don't get a shell. Two hands, I got one. Alright, and then I just need a little splash of water in it. And all I did is put about a tablespoon of water in there with one egg. Scramble that up. And that's going to go right over the top. What? I don't have one of those little rubber brushy things because I typically don't do an egg wash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the back of a spoon without pressing down too much because I don't want to let all that air out from the proofing. And again, I've never done an egg wash before, so it's not something I typically do. Egg wash is going to give it that nice shiny color on the top, nice golden brown. Oops, a little bit too much. Oops, a little bit more over here, a little bit down there. All right, and we're going to go in this. You know what? I'm not throwing that egg away. I'm going to use that for something, breakfast or something. All right, so we're going to take this, we're going to put it in the oven, 350 degrees for about, I'll check it in about a half an hour and we'll see what happens. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so it's been a half an hour in the oven at 350. We're going to take it out, see what it looks like. What it look like. Y'all don't be talking about my dirty oven. I got to clean it. Look at that. Will you look at that? Will you look at that? That's what I'm talking about right there. Now, appearance-wise, it looks good. It did stretch a bit here, but I'm okay with that. I like that rustic look. If it tastes like it looked, we're going to have some bomb, diggity bomb French toast. All right. I'll let you know how it tastes, but there's the hybrid bread. I don't know what you want to call it. We have to come up with it. I'm going to call it my sweet bread. My sweet bread. Not sweet bread. My sweet bread. All right? I'll holla. Okay, so real quick, the bread is absolutely delicious. And I mean delicious. Nice and tasty. Very airy. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to be a little heavier. This is not what I want to use for my my stuffed French toast. It's still way too light, and this really just tastes like bread. Even though I put the cinnamon, the extra sugar in there, the extra eggs and so forth. Maybe because of how I messed up of not putting that butter in before. And it was made with homemade butter. I didn't mention that before, but look at all that texture, folks. Mmm, tasty. All right, wasn't a complete fail. The bread is good, delicious for sandwich or whatever else, even regular French toast, just not for stuffed French toast. All right, folks, there you have it. Real food, fast. I'm out.